morning and welcome to the Sports Carnival live from the Trauma Center studios. Hey, Dave, do you know what the Packers and Shaquille O'Neal have in common? They're both just below 500. Here's your host, Dave Carney.
Wow, baby. Coming out shots fired from the great state of Washington. Our Green Bay Packer fans, boy, we are still reeling here, baby, after the Green Bay Packers. Man, they lose 3 games in a row. You're right. There is something to be said about Shaq being barely under 5 bills and the Green Bay Packers being barely under 500. Chad, this morning's Twitter poll question, which you can take at the Sports Carney on Twitter, go to at the Sports Carney on Twitter, is actually asking you if, and this sounds like a fucking crazy question to ask at this point of the season, will the Chicago Bears, who beat the Patriots last night, will the Chicago Bears finish with a better record than the Green Bay Packers? Climb this morning's poll like your name is Morning Wood and go to Twitter at the Sports Carney and take this morning's poll question. Chad, I didn't think this would be something anybody would litigate this year under any circumstance. I really and truly did not. But we saw the Chicago Bears come up with a plucky victory on the road versus the Patriots last night. Bill Belichick got it handed to him a little bit by Justin Fields and that Bears offense, who had been scoring a league-low 16 points a game, and last night put up 33.
You know, it was kind of nice to see Justin Fields play as well as he did, because all season he's been getting beat up a lot. He took some hits last night as well. There was a great pass that ended up going for a touchdown that he threw kind of sidearm.
Was that beautiful to Herbert? That was a beautiful play.
Great play. But, I mean, he still took a lick on that.
Sure did.
He ended up with 100
in between two dudes, like, ow.
So Fields went 33 for 14. Or no, excuse me, that was the score of the game. Fields had 179 yards, a touchdown, a pick, but he had 14 rushes for 82 yards and a touchdown. He looked solid.
No, he really did. And the play that you mentioned there last night, that little shovel pass that he was able to make to Herbert for that score, Peyton Manning. So I was going back and forth in the Trauma Center studio, right? Thanks to my friends at the recovery room. Got multiple TVs in this piece. So I'm going back and forth between the Manning cast, which I just love to death. I love to see who they bring on. I love to see their commentary and the regular game call. And Peyton and Eli Manning, as that play was unfolding, both correctly called out exactly what the coverage was going to be on the defense and what Chicago needed to do in order to get that ball out of Fields' hand and make it to a touchdown. And it was a perfect call from Peyton Manning. It was a perfect call from the Bears. And listen, we do have a couple of Bear fans that are members of the P1 fan club. One of them is Rob Dog from Stoddard. Now, I know that Rob Dog is going to be joining in this morning. He was all over the Sports Carney on Instagram saying, I told you so. I told you so. We've also got Jeff from Harders. Jeff, if you're joining us this morning, give us your thoughts here on what the Bears did last night that you did enjoy. I will say one thing, because Joey Miller's popping in here. He says, thank you, Bears, for making me money. If you follow me on social media, which again is at the Sports Carney across the board, you'll see my new Dave's Daily Play, 45-second video message with the winning inside that you're going to need. Last night, I had a player prop, Chad, on Justin Fields to go under 24 and a half total passing attempts. He threw the ball 21 times, as you mentioned, 14 for 21, $179, got sacked 4 times, so lost a little bit of that yardage. But even still, the Bears, they made me money last night too. And I don't care where I've got to make the money from. If it's a player prop or if it's a straight bet, doesn't matter to me. So Joey Miller, I'm with you, baby. Thank you, Bears, for making me some money.
What is our poll is who will finish better, the Bears
who
or the
will finish with a better record? Yep, Bears or Packers.
Well, Morning Wood has maybe even a better one. Packers making the playoffs or Brittany Griner getting out of prison. Not very nice, Morning Wood, but a very good question.
You know, that's a real good question. I'm going to tell you what, Packers making the postseason. Like Packers making the postseason, that's going to happen. Brittany Griner's going to spend probably the rest of her natural life over in Russia.
So I thought, yes, I think you're, unfortunately for her.
I hate to say that, but I think that's hedging on fair.
So last night I'm watching the game, and obviously Mac Jones struggled. He comes out after throwing an interception, and Bailey Zappi comes in, and I think he ended up throwing 2 touchdowns. It was looking pretty good. I thought we were going to have a better story.
Yeah.
It didn't end up so well. He ended up with, 185 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks.
2 picks.
So I was thinking, God, and he was wearing number 4 as well. And I'm like, man, this is like Taylor Heineke on the Commanders that beat the Packers. I was kind of feeling that, it looked like there was momentum. The crowd was behind him the whole 9 yards. So I'm thinking, okay, we need a sound for Taylor Heineke because that makes sense, right? Heineke. Okay. So Bailey Zappi. Okay. Every time we hear Bailey Zapp, we got a little of that. Now, then we need one for Aaron Rodgers. So this is what I was thinking for Aaron Rodgers. I don't know what anybody else thinks.
Okay. Oh!
What do you think of that? Is that too harsh?
Wow.
Or is that just the Packers season? It's one of the two.
Damn it, Chad. You're really coming out firing today, baby. You are really coming out firing. I got to be honest. At this point, the national narrative surrounding the Packers, because I spent a whole lot of yesterday when I wasn't cobbling together stuff here in the Trauma Center studio, trying to figure out what the national narrative would be on this Green Bay Packer team. And you're not wrong. Just about every single talking head, including some former Green Bay Packers that are now guests on Fox Sports, Greg Jennings, these guys are not high on where the Packers are right now. Really and truly not high on where the Packers are right now. I want to shout out real quick here to Mike Byers, though. Mike Byers sent us a message here. Our favorite Texan from La Crosse is tuning in live for the first time. Chad, I'll let you know, Mike Byers was for years my national calendar correspondent on the radio program here in La Crosse, and he was also a member of the two-man inflation calculation committee, which means if I need to go, like say I'm looking at Babe Ruth's salary from 1928, and I need an inflation calculation for what does that mean in today's dollars?
Right.
Mike Byers was there. He was also, as mentioned, our national calendar correspondent. Now, this is something that Thomas of UWL has been desperate for this day in history, and we can't get to that stuff right now. We'll see about it when we go into 2 hours, but for right now, we're just a little too packed up. But Mike, it's great to see your name popping up here this morning. And if you are just tuning in, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and you want to reach out to the program, YouTube, Facebook seem to be chatted, and I think Twitch seem to be the best ways to interact with us live here on the program. However, we are coming up with new and exciting ways to get in touch with the Sports Carnival on a daily basis. One other thing I've got to throw out before we get too far into the program, because we're going to talk to Matt Janus, UWL's head football coach, coming up at 8:30. Go back and look at that Stevens Point blowout that UWL had. Before we get to that, happy birthday to Midwest Mortgage Team's Mike Garcia. Mikey, you're turning the big 4-0. We partied with you over the weekend, but happy birthday, buddy. Also, happy birthday to Jimmy the Haggerty of Stone Distribution fame. Fellas, we're going to take a really quick pause. We'll come back. We need some NBA in our lives. Chad, Zion Williamson, how many games has it been since he's been back? Is he already injured? No way. Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so.
I can't imagine a week going by without going to the Recovery Room Bar and Grill, 7th and Mississippi Street in downtown La Crosse. I'm serious. If you know me, you know that my favorite restaurant, not just my favorite bar, but my favorite restaurant in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, is none other than the Recovery Room Bar and Grill. Whether it's their burgers, their pizza, their wings, their gyros, their prime rib, or their fish, it's all good. And the wait staff, my gosh, some of the friendliest and coolest people that you'll ever meet. Matt, the owner, great friend of mine. The Recovery Room, 7th and Mississippi Street. I can't go a week without it. How about you?
Now back to the action live from the Trauma Center studios. This is the Sports Carnival, and as Paul Brown once said, when you win, say nothing. When you lose, say less. Here's your host, Dave Carney.
Hey, give it up to Paul Brown. Some of these old football guys were very wise and sage in their advice to those that were also playing the game. It's interesting, Chad, when you go back and look at those old-timey football dudes, and we think they're antiquated because they didn't go through analytics, they sure knew how to not get their players like categorically killed on a game-in and game-out basis, right? What we call locker room material now, or you know, poster board material. Those old dudes were like, no. We need to keep this, you know, right in house. We celebrate amongst ourselves. Maybe we burn down a couple of our own city stores, and that's it. That's all we do.
Turn over a few cop cars.
That's it.
You know, it's all reasonable. Paul Brown, without Paul Brown, you know, today's football might not be exactly what it is. He was the guy.
I completely agree. Paul Brown was
in the air. Yeah, he was an innovator, and but that, you know what, I like quotes, and especially old timey quotes. And ones that resonate, and that seems to resonate, I think, nowadays more than ever, because you see a lot of this. and it's been for a while, unnecessary celebration. Like what frustrates me more than anything is when I see a defensive lineman like get a sack and they're losing by 2 touchdowns and they celebrate. It's like, yeah, that's cool. You got a sack, but you're getting your ass kicked. That's not really, I think celebration should be done after the game, honestly. I mean, I'm all right with a little touchdown. I get it. I mean, it's entertainment and all those kinds of things. But me personally, I never would do that, because every time I ever got cocky, whether it was on the field or on the basketball court, it always got shoved in my face. So I had to be humble.
Yeah, that's generally the way that it worked out for me too. It didn't stop me, as you can probably imagine, from doing any of
a lot of trash.
I talk a lot of trash, man, but it didn't stop me. But you're right. You learn. Here's the thing: you learn who you can talk trash to, and in which certain circumstances that's going to work out to your benefit, right? Like they've always said, don't write a check that your ass can't cover. So if your ass can cover it, like say you're playing against 8-year-olds, I'm going to take these kids to the hoop. I'm going to take them hard in the paint, right? Like they think they can guard me. They're 8. I'm going to post you up. I'm going to block all of your shots, and I will talk trash to you. If you're 18, that's a different story, and I'm going to keep that to myself. I'm going to reserve that said trash talking.
Good trash talkers understand the reason why they're trash talking is to get in the opponent's head. It's not really about being braggadocious, right? Larry and Michael, guys like that, they talked trash because they knew it got in their opponent's head and it affected the way they played.
And That's were awesome.
Why they did it. Yeah.
And they were awesome. Like they were amongst the greatest players of all time. Like, see, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, some of these guys,
Kobe's another one. Yeah.
The epic trash talk. And it happens because the swagger, and let's just say it, the balls on these guys are so big because they know you're not better than me, right? Like this is just not a thing. Now you might play better than me 1 game out of 82. Fair enough. But you're not better than me. And when you know that you're not better than somebody, the tendency then to, lay it out there on the line once or twice, it crops up. Hey, Enrique is checking in. Enrique asks, hey, Dave, could we wish Mr. James Haggerty a happy birthday? We already did, but Enrique, since you popped this up here, we might as well say it again. Jimmy, happy birthday. Happy birthday to Mike Garcia. And a really, really, really special thank you from both Chad and myself to the folks over at the Midwest Mortgage Team, Mike Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi. Vercruzzi, not to be confused with Vacuzzi. Totally different thing.
That's his porn name. That's his porn name.
Just don't tell his wife that. She might be listening.
Vacuzzi, come over here. Huh?
It sounds like a Sopranos episode. Remember when he had the guy Cusimano, Dr. Cusimano next door? He's like, hey, Cusi.
There was a guy named Big Pussy on there. So
there sure was. Big Pussy and Little Pussy. There was Big Pussy, Little Pussy.
That's right.
I was once given I was like, I got a whole saying about that thing, but I'm gonna pull it back really quick here. Just gonna pull it back really quick here.
Yeah.
Enrique, thanks for checking in. Nice to see your name pop up.
Thanks for derailing the show.
No, it's not derailing because Tony Russo's checking in here from Preferred Insurance, again, the official insurance provider of the program, and he's just giving us a laughy face. See, his birthday was also over the weekend, so Tony turned 39. Mike's turning 40. And again, thank you guys so much. Thanks to Kyle Cable, One Trust Real Estate, and the Recovery Room.
What's Haggerty? What age is he? We're going to divulge that?
Good question. Good question. Let me see, James. How does an angel age?
Wow, really?
That's just what I'm going to ask you. Does an angel age? Because if that's the case, I don't know. I don't know.
Are you gonna venture a guess?
I'm going to say 37.
Okay, 37. So he's not quite the 40
club. Not quite. Not quite.
Join the 40 club. It's not as bad as everybody thinks it is. 40 is the new 40. I mean, honestly, it's
40
everything starts sagging. That's all I can tell you. Gravity wins. If you haven't figured that out yet, kids, if there's any young people out there, enjoy yourself while you can, because everything sags, baby.
Yes.
No matter what you do.
Listen, sometimes that can be a good thing, depending on how it works out for you. I'm just saying. I also noticed this, Chad, after 40, and literally it happened the day after I turned 40, because I do a pretty, and this isn't like lost on my audience, I do a pretty proactive stretching regimen. Been doing this for a long time.
Smart.
It used to be something that I just did, and I thought, hey, this is going to help out. After I turned 40, the day after, it became a necessity. Like, oh my God, everything hurts. So when you say it sags, yeah, I don't know, whatever it is, the thoughts in your mind, do they land in your hips and back? Because that's where it all sits now.
Well, Yes. I think this is an opportune transition right here, because talking about stretching, I think I can think of two guys in the NBA, and we're going to start talking about Zion.
Yeah.
That involved martial arts or yoga and had the two longest careers. Robert Parrish, a lot of people don't know that.
Boston
and of course,
Celtics.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Both of them were into stretching a lot, because in martial arts and in yoga, obviously there's a lot of stretching involved. And look how long their careers lasted. Zion Williamson, unfortunately, is one of these guys that is an unbelievable player, unbelievable talent, but he has a tendency to get injured a lot. And you've talked about this early, and it has a lot to do with the amount of torque this guy creates when he jumps off the floor. Now, this incident that just happened, he went up for a dunk, he kind of got undercut, and he landed on his hip, and now he has a hip contusion. And that's really not, I don't care who you were.
It's not fun.
It's just bad luck. I don't know. I feel bad for the guy, because I really want to see him just get out and stretch his legs for about a season or so to see what he can do, because he can put up the numbers.
He really can. Zion Williamson, though, and the torque thing that you've mentioned is something that with our own two eyes, Chad, as a collective, we have seen in some spectacular ways blow right up, like a shoe, literally blow up out of a shoe in college. That's the torque that this kid plays with. I've never seen that before, right? Like, I remember when the and ones were first coming out, and there's an interesting documentary about that whole and one thing on Netflix. If you've got Netflix, I encourage you to watch it. It's very fascinating. So the and one shoe company had some problems when they made their first shoes. They were clunky, and I can't remember. It was Stephon Marbury that wore them early and had to ditch them.
Yeah.
The point that I'm going to make is when you see somebody pop out of a shoe in 2019, like was the case for Zion, you're very, very, very concerned, because these shoes today are not 1990 or 80 shoes. The force that this man works with is probably only second to what I would say Shaq was working with. But Shaq, being so much taller, Chad, didn't have to have the same motions that Zion Williamson has, right? Zion Williamson is more in line with the height of Shawn Kemp, maybe even a little bit less than that.
Yeah.
And it just is too much. I don't know that he'll ever be able to hold. As much as I would love this guy to be one of those dudes, those all-time dudes, because the talent's there, I just don't know if he's going to be able to hold. I love this from Morning Wood.
Isn't that classic? Zion needs to ask Westbrick, which I love the nickname, for advice on stretching and getting warmed up properly. I'll tell you what, the Lakers, everybody's clowning on the Lakers. It's kind of a joke. And so now you got Westbrick, great nickname, Street Clothes with Anthony Davis.
Yes.
I don't know King James, I bet, which isn't a very good nickname. I think you come up with something a little bit better, but good point. Zion is kind of reminds you a little bit of Shaq with the power, a little bit of Barkley.
Yeah, a little bit.
Looked like he ripped himself up a little bit over the summer. I mean, he lost some weight, and he hit the gym, which is good.
Sure.
But I think that the stretching is going to be a key for him. And I wonder if he's going to seek outside advice. A lot of these guys that really are serious about what they do reach out. One of the guys we mentioned a couple episodes ago was Akeem Olajuwon. A lot of guys reached out, I think, including Kobe Bryant, about footwork. Maybe you reach out to a guy like the Chief, like Robert Parrish, and like, hey man, how did you last 20 plus seasons in the NBA? I mean, that's impressive,
Well, first of all, it's a feat of enormous magnitude. And you think of Parrish, Olajuwon, or Abdul-Jabbar, excuse me, and Kevin Willis is another guy who played 23 years as a big guy. The difference for me in all of those situations and with Zion, while Zion plays a big guy role, he really is only 6'6", right? I think he's somewhere about 6'6", 6'7". The point that I'm making there is, if you look at Parrish, Abdul-Jabbar, Willis had a great little jump hook. Okay, Kareem obviously had the sky, and Robert Parrish was just a really good all-around player. He had a turnaround jump shot. He could hit it from the post. He had a lot of different moves. Zion relies upon, Chad, for the most part, his athleticism. He does have a stroke. He really does. He has a stroke. He can shoot it. It's not that he can't shoot. I just wonder what the comp for him is. Like, I've looked at an old Denver Nugget player that didn't last, but I thought he was going to be really good. Lefty named Rodney Rogers out of Wake Forest.
Yeah.
Rodney Rogers reminded me a lot of Zion Williamson in certain ways. Also, you had guys that were coming up. I wouldn't say Corliss Williamson. Who was the other player? Played for the Philadelphia 76ers with Barkley, rookie in 92, 93. I'm struggling to remember his name now. It doesn't matter. He was in the dunk contest. Similar build to Zion. These players, though, that I'm mentioning, for one reason or the other, have never had uber long careers. And that's why when Zion and when Ja Morant were both coming out, and by the way, Ja Morant had himself a fucking game last night for the Memphis Grizzlies. This dude dropped 38 points. He's awesome. But when these guys are coming out, I told our listeners, I told the P1 fan club, if it were me, I'd draft Ja. I'd really draft Ja because he's more in line with what today's game is. Like, I'd rather take a guard for 15 or 20 years than roll the dice on a great forward for 8 to 10. I really would.
The other thing you got in Morning Wood says Sean Kemp was in better shape than Zion.
Sean Kemp was in better shape.
Yeah, but Sean Kemp's like Elvis. You got two different guys, okay? You got early Elvis and you got fat Elvis. You got early Sean Kemp, athletic, jumping out of the gym, Rain Man, and then you got we got
Cleveland, Orlando, and okay. To Sean Kemp's credit, though, when he was in Cleveland, he did sire, I believe, a half a dozen children in that time.
Yes.
And because of that, he was being hooked up with like breakfasts and lunches. Like the dude had to keep his stamina up. And just one other thing about that era of the Cavs.
They were humping and a pumping, I tell you.
It was almost like they were playing everybody wanted to hump around and jump around. It was a Biggie Smalls song. Clarence Witherspoon, good call. Mike Garcia. Okay, shout out to the birthday boy here, Mike Garcia, Midwest Mortgage Team. Clarence Witherspoon is the guy that I was referring to. So that's exactly the kind of player that Zion reminds me of, right? Like he reminds me of one of those players, which doesn't mean the top end of where their abilities could take them isn't still great, but it's just, will it last? Morning Wood.
Morning Wood says, correction, not was. Yeah. He's saying he's in better shape now. So that's the thing. I think that Zion's got to be careful. He doesn't slip into Oliver Miller, Robert Tractor Trailer. Some of these guys that just went off the deep end into the buffet and ate their way out of a career. Because, again, I think everybody could agree, when you watch the highlights of this kid, you're pulling for him. I mean, it's amazing to see the ability this guy has, and he can jump out of the gym, and he is a bigger guy. And I like bigger guys. I like Barkley. I thought Barkley was an amazing player. Barkley's a far superior player than Zion is now, but I think Zion could possibly reach those heights if he can stay healthy. I just don't know if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, and that's where I'm going to go ahead and just say this with respect to Barkley and Zion. As good as Zion is right now, Barkley's an all-timer, right?
Well,
Barkley was so good out of the gate, Chad. He was playing alongside of one of the better 76er teams of a generation or two, and he fit in so seamlessly. Like his rookie year, I think Barkley averaged around 14 and 10, but then he was a 20-point guy from that point forward. And the way that Barkley played also, and this is something that Barkley later in his career backed off of, but early in his career, he was all about because he got needled and prodded by the teammates on the Sixers. Dude, you're fat. You need to lose weight. Like you're fat.
Moses Malone told him, you're too fat. You guys
listen, and that was before we had to worry about, Barkley's sensitivity training. Moses Malone's being honest. He's like, dude, you're too fat. You have to play. You're playing basketball, yo. Go lose some weight. And, the whole running exercise of basketball generally loses itself or lends itself to losing that weight. I think Zion is a great player and I wish him the best. How many guys do you know in NBA history that miss entire seasons at a time, right? Especially earlier in their career. How many of these guys turn out to be Hall of Famers? The answer is really not many. Bernard King, similar thing. The dude was incredible, could never stay healthy. And he was as good of a scorer as anybody, Larry or Michael or anybody. Neat in those years, he just couldn't stay on the court.
Yeah, and the problem with being hurt and having an eating problem, oh, man, that doesn't work well either, because when you're idle, of course, what are you going to do? You're going to chow down. I mean, obviously the guy likes to eat, and I can totally relate. But when you're injured and you start feeling sorry for yourself and you've got this big, giant $100 million plus contract and you've got, there's sky's the limit. And that includes when he goes to the buffet or whatever he likes to eat, Dude,
sky's the limits on the amount of patties you can fit on your burger if you're Zion. Like, I totally get it. And listen, I'm not trying to shame anybody for the way they want to eat, but if you're not a professional athlete, do what you want. Yeah. When you're a professional athlete, it's sort of incumbent upon you to do whatever you can. Not saying that Zion isn't, but we have heard reports and we've heard stories from people inside the Pelicans over the last couple of years that perhaps he wasn't as dedicated to his eating regimen as maybe he should be. Chad, I want to transition back over to last night's Monday Night Football game, though, if we could, for those that are just kind of piling in here.
Talking about Bailey Zappi?
Yeah, that guy. Okay. That sounded like a great way to get rid of mosquitoes in the middle of the summer. Damn. This guy's giving me all sorts of electric shocks here.
It doesn't remind you of Aaron Rodgers, though. Sorry, I had to do at least one more time.
That's rough. That's rough. Well, listen, you bring up a slide on this whole Monday Night Football because I want to talk Justin Fields for a second. I want to go back to the poll question.
Did you send me a slide? You didn't send me a slide, did you?
Oh, yeah. A couple of them.
I did not get them.
Yes, you did.
Let me check. So you keep talking and I will look. I apologize.
I'll keep talking and you keep checking. So we had a poll question. We still do. It's on our Twitter feed at the Sports Carney. The question is very simple. And I know it sounds hyperbolic, like how could I even be uttering this in any way, shape, or form? But will the Bears finish with a better record than the Packers? The way that you can answer this morning's poll, again, at the Sports Carney, very simple. Yes or no fucking way. That's the way that you can answer this morning's poll question. Right now, Chad, no fucking way is leading 75 to 25. But I'm not entirely sure that is going to hold. Now, I haven't taken a hard look at the Bears' schedule here, so I can't really speak to that right off the top of my head. We can pull it up. But I can tell you, after looking at the Packers' schedule over and over and over again, this is not an easy spot for Green Bay to be in right now. It's really not. The chances of them beating Buffalo are like, they're slim and none. And I think that Slim just walked out the door, okay? So I don't want to get too crazy about that as far as the Bears' schedule goes. But at this point, both of these teams, Chad, 3-4, with, let's face it, the Bears getting a victory on the road versus the Patriots, I'm not sure the Packers would have gotten because it took them overtime in Lambeau to be able to beat Bailey Zappi a few weeks back.
I don't think this was the same Bears team that we saw play the Packers. Do you agree? I don't think that today's or Sunday's Packers team could have beat the Bears team I saw last night.
Probably not with that defense, the way that defense played. I couldn't say that for sure.
Now, when the Packers played the Bears, they irritated Justin Fields a lot. Justin Fields obviously made some adjustments and was showing his athleticism last night and did a lot of damage on the ground, which got him a lot of extra possessions, right? Got him a lot of extra first downs, put him in good spots. And I think overall, I would say the Bears are a better team currently constructed right now in the way they played last night and compared to the Packers. Now, obviously, this is a week-to-week thing, and you never know how this is going to work out. But I agree with you. The chances of the Green Bay Packers beating Buffalo, man, I mean, if they do win, that could turn things around, but I just don't see it happening.
Listen, if the Green Bay Packers beat the Buffalo Bills, it will absolutely invigorate not just a Green Bay Packer team, but an entire fan base to that. They're going to reprocess all these thoughts from, oh no, the season is over, to, oh wait, we're going to win the Super Bowl. Like that will happen in an instant. But let's be frank, and let's just be honest and fair about it. That's not going to happen. The Packers are not going to beat the Bills in Orchard Park. And if they do, something drastically wrong has happened to the Buffalo Bills. This is not because, guys, we don't want to see the Packers come out on top of this game. That's just because all of the metrics and everything that we are looking at with our eyes and are feeling, because we've been seeing it, these things are true. I like that Marengo Mike is checking in here. So Mike's got a kid that goes to UW and is actually a football player on the team. He also lives in Huntley, Illinois, which is just outside of Chicago. Says Marengo Mike's in the house, or I guess it's Marengo, Illinois. Go Bears and go Eagles. Justin Fields, listen, that's why we put this together. He had himself a field day last night. I did take the player prop under 24.5 passing attempts because I didn't think that he would be chucking it all that much. The weather looked a little, I wouldn't say inclement, but the fog, Chad, at Foxborough last night, it made me feel that this was going to be more of a running attack. And the Bears do run the ball a lot more than most teams do. But he did cash in that ticket for me. The interception, that wasn't great. The touchdown pass he had to Herbert really was. And those 14 carries for 82 yards, especially on some of those RPOs and designed quarterback runs last night, Chad, that really put the Patriots in a bad way because Justin Fields, and this is something that I believe it was Troy Aikman mentioned, when he takes off, he's a 6'3", 245-pound like running back. Yeah. Right? Like this guy becomes a big dude and hard to take down.
Well, and not to mention he's got quite a gun too. Let me ask you a quick question. Are you a FanDuel or are you on DraftKings? How are you placing these prop bets?
So right now, I am going
I can't do either here in Washington.
I am going to a great offshore site that did some business with us, and I'm trying to get this thing back. It's called BetUS, and you know who's their cover guy? Gary Payton.
Oh,
Gary Payton's their cover
Gary
guy.
Payton?
This is the Gary Payton, not the weed Gary Payton, but the actual player Gary Payton.
Okay.
So yeah, BetUS. Go there, find it. Go there, find it.
And I can join this as well. This is
betcha. Actually, if you do mention that you were referred by me, and I think we get some extra bonuses. So
because let me tell you, I like the prop bet stuff. I love in-game betting. That was the one thing I missed from Vegas. In-game betting is a good way to kind of hedge yourself when you're gambling on a game.
It is.
Because the old traditional way, you got to wait to the end, and it's either, yay or, oh, God, I lost. You can be halfway through the game. You're like, no, I'm going to bet the second half. I like the way this is rolling. There's so many different things, and I love those prop bets. So I might have to check that out. That's good stuff.
US. And by the way, they accept Bitcoin. If you want to do that, you get an extra credit if you use your cryptocurrency. Yeah. All right, guys and gals, stay tuned. Sports Carnival broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios, powered by the Recovery Room. Going to be back in about 1 minute. And when we return, Matt Janus, UWL head football coach, the team now 6-1 on the season, is going to be joining the show. Stay tuned.
The official lending team and mortgage partner of the Sports Carnival is the Midwest Mortgage Team of Land Home Financial. You know I like to tell a joke or two and play around, have fun. But getting a mortgage is no funny business. Don't play around with your finances. Call my good friends Michael Garcia and Todd Vercuse of the Midwest Mortgage Team at Land Home Financial today. Whether you're buying your first house, maybe you're buying your second house, maybe you're a seasoned real estate investor. Midwest Mortgage Team, Land Home Financial, Michael Garcia and Todd Vercuse. Give my good friends a call today. They're the official mortgage team of the Sports Carnival.
Preferred Insurance is the official auto, home, business, flood, and life insurance agency of the Sports Carnival, serving folks in La Crosse and surrounding areas with licenses in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. As an independent insurance agency, Preferred Insurance is free to find the very best insurance for you, your family, or your business needs. Call my friends at Preferred Insurance today and set up a free consultation. Remember, working with an independent agency means Preferred Insurance works for you, with you, to find the best solutions at the best prices.
Back to the Sports Carnival live from the Trauma Center studios, asking this very important question. If winning isn't everything, then why do they keep score? Here's your host, Dave Carney.
Yeah, winning's not everything, Chad. One of my coaches told me it's the only thing.
Oh, Lombardi. That's a Lombardi quote.
Yeah, it's also something that's been ripped off by everybody in 7th and 8th grade basketball forever. So I know I'm playing at the YMCA. Winning's not everything. It's the only thing. Like, damn, you guys are taking this serious, aren't you? Well, Joey, appreciate your advice. I'll try something called Prize Picks. Joey Miller, who is now, I don't know if he's attending UWL, Matt Janus, but he used to be an offensive lineman over at Aquinas. They won a state championship. Joey was on that team. I've turned Joey into like a regular degenerate gambler, and he's only 18 years old. Like, but because this stuff is all offshore, like Joey and I go back and forth on picks, and he's asking me for advice like every single day. Joey, I hope you've got a good job, because you got to know when to say when. It's all entertainment money too. How you doing, Matty?
I'm doing great, guys. How about you?
Hey, we are flying.
You're doing much better. I mean, you guys are kicking ass. It's got to feel pretty good, Coach.
It does. It was a good win on Saturday. Excited. We got a chance to get a lot of guys in the football game for really kind of their first time. A lot of guys on our team took their first college snaps. We had 4 guys score their first college touchdown. So it's kind of a cool moment. You get a lot of guys that have worked hard on scout team for us all year, and then to kind of see that all pay off for them on Saturday afternoon. It's pretty special.
Coach, another thing that I'm just so excited about this year, probably more than any other year, is the way that the fans in La Crosse are coming out and supporting the team. I know that it was homecoming, and that always draws a decent crowd, right, at Roger Herring Stadium, and I've seen that. But I want to say every single game at home this season, Roger Herring Stadium, Veterans Memorial Field, has been nearly a sellout. I mean, the crowd has been fantastic. fantastic. And when we talk about Division III stadiums, Chad, I've told you this off air, there's nothing that compares to what UWL has. There really and truly isn't. So, Matt, let's just talk about that briefly. The experience, and we talk about this as Lacrosse Eagle fans, the experience is something that we're really trying to sell and to let the folks here in town know about. Have you felt this year that the experience has sort of been reciprocated more so by the folks here in town or even the surrounding areas? Because it looks great every single game.
Yeah, it's been awesome. It really is. It's been an awesome atmosphere for all of our games. And then going back to Saturday, I mean, obviously you had a beautiful day, but you kind of started getting that feeling. And we had a lot going on, right? So we had homecoming, we had our Wall of Fame, we had our 1992 national championship reunion. So we had kind of a lot going on just with that in itself. And then, we kind of got done with our walkthrough on the field at about 8:30. And then, so we're kind of hanging out, and you kind of already started to see the tailgating area start to build on our way out from our walkthrough. And then, we kind of had some recruits on campus. So about 9:30, 10, we're kind of walking by, the parking lot's full. So like you can already kind of sense it, like even just as a coach, and I know our players saw the same thing as they're kind of walking into their locker room. You can just kind of sense that energy build throughout the whole pregame. And then, then they go in the locker room before the game. And then we come out and the whole thing is full. The environment's awesome. It's loud. We had a huge thing going on with our band. Our band had, I believe, like 300. They brought in a lot of local area high school band members as well. So we had a huge band production. I mean, it's just been really special. It just makes you, I just think about how lucky I am. It just makes me love lacrosse. It really does. You look out on that and you just go, this is just awesome. And I took a moment before the game to just kind of look out, and it's just a really cool feeling. And I know our guys just feed off of that energy.
Well, I can only imagine how heartened that's got to make you all feel, not just from the coaching staff, the players, but the parents of these players. You mentioned a lot of these guys getting their first run in college football. Let me ask you, did I don't know his first name, I'm going to struggle, but Oin, last name Oin, Did he get a chance to get in? Linebacker, I think number 53.
Yep, Landon. Yep,
Landon.
Yeah, Landon. He's had actually it's been he's our backup Mike right now, and he's really pushing right now. You can see he's been kind of in that linebacker mix. He's been in every game. He plays on our kickoff team. He's on all of our special teams. And he's only a sophomore right now. And we can kind of see that over the last 2 weeks. Like, there's always this growth as you kind of go through the defensive system year in and year out, right? And like our number one Mike, AJ right now, he's been running this system since he was a freshman. So like for me and him, like I look at him and he knows what I'm going to say, right? And so I really felt like going back to last week in practice, Landon, like you could just see it click, and like everything clicks, and you can kind of see that now. So I'm really excited about these next 3 games here coming up with him.
Yeah, well, you guys are 6-1. You've won 3 in a row. Is it as a head coach, is this one of those positions obviously you love, but is it sometimes harder because you got to keep the guys focused that they don't get too over the top, right, and look past the next team? I mean, a lot of times when you think of head football coaches, you're thinking about the Newt Rockneys, and you got to pump these guys up. Well, you guys are already there. Is that difficult to manage or more difficult to manage?
I think last week it was hard, because they knew coming up here now, like our next 3 games, we have the gauntlet right now, and we're going to have to go through, I believe it's the 19th, 22nd, and 21st team here on the last swing of our schedule, and kind of knew that going into the season that this stretch here that we're going to go into is going to be some of the best opponents that we see all year. So, I think last week it was a little challenging at times. I was and our guys were focused. They played hard. We were kind of a little sloppy at the end of the first half that I really wasn't happy about. But now I feel like they're locked in right now. They know they woke up on Sunday morning in whatever our league is now, a 4-way tie for first place. So they know they have to take care of business. So I think they're pretty locked in right now.
Coach, it's been, again, such an amazing stretch here for this Eagles team this year, especially. I'm watching the comments pile in here, and we're not trying to crowd out your face, so I'm not putting them all up here, but I'm getting shout outs from all over the area talking about what a great team that you have, how much fun everybody is really having right now, watching and listening to you guys every single Saturday. And that's going to continue, a big road tilt this upcoming Saturday versus Oshkosh, as you've mentioned. Chad, if you could pull up that Eagles slide, though, from Saturday, I want to go back to a couple of different things that we saw, and somebody who a week ago in Eau Claire didn't have the greatest game, Cade Garcia. Not that he didn't play well, but had a couple of interceptions, a couple of turnovers that made his stat line look not as great as perhaps he played on the field. Well, this Saturday, Cade Garcia just went out and had himself a game. As a matter of fact, threw 5 touchdowns, 209 yards passing, but 206 yards passing, excuse me. But the 5 touchdowns were the most in his career, tied for 4th most, Coach, in a single game of UWL's history. Of course, you had a stout running game, and we'll get to that in a second. But touch on Cade's game here, too, because, again, I think that Cade's a guy that, you look at your 2-quarterback system, and Helterbrand obviously looks like more of an athlete. But I've told you this before. Cade Garcia reminds me a lot of what Case Keenum was in college. And Case Keenum in college, everybody, was a slinger for Houston. Yeah. I mean, he was accurate, didn't have the biggest arm, but boy, he got the ball where it needed to go. Talk to us a little bit about Cade Garcia and what kind of game he had on Saturday.
Yeah, and we've been obviously everybody knows we've been kind of rolling with 2 quarterbacks all year, and Kaiser kind of ends up pulling his hamstring at the end of the Eau Claire game, so we knew it was going to fall completely on Cade's shoulders. And as Cade has, and he did it last year at Eau Claire, he did it. He's done it numerous times this year. He shows why he's on the mix. He shows why we need a 2-quarterback system. He shows. And he shows his skill set. He goes for 5 touchdowns, makes some tremendous throws to our tight ends. We have all the faith in the world in him. He's got all the faith in himself as well. So it wasn't something that we really even think about. It was just, hey, expect Cade. And I know that's kind of weird to say that, but expect him to do that kind of stuff. I mean, I told him, it was funny. I was texting back and forth with him on Saturday night. I said, yeah, we were right on the touchdowns. Because I think I said on Tuesday or Wednesday, I said about 5 touchdowns, 400 yards. Now we didn't end up passing much in the second half, so we didn't get to the 400 yards. But he certainly had 5 touchdowns there. So just a phenomenal leader. Just love having him on our team.
Talk about setting the bar high. Yeah, could you throw 5 touchdowns this weekend? Yeah, no problem.
He shook his head. He's like, yep, okay, got it. And then I texted him. I said, great. Saturday night, I'm sitting there. I'm like, we said 5 touchdowns, right? And he said, yep.
That's got to feel good. And you know what? If I had that on my BetUS official app, I'd be all over this. I'd be all over this coming up. Coach Janus, though, another guy, actually 2 guys that we're going to talk about here, but one in particular, somebody whose name comes up again and again and again. And you and I have talked about him since he really started lacing up those cleats for you guys every Saturday and going out there and carrying that rock. Joey Stutzman, once again, this dude is he's legit. 153 yards, 14 carries, so 10 points per carry on average. You had Brandt with another nice little game, especially in the second half. Didn't get a lot of run in the first half, but 7 carries, 62 yards. The offensive line, you've talked about how much that has to do with this running game, but these 2 kids, they're special.
They are. It's the whole group. It is. It really is. Joey Stutzman's phenomenal back. He does it time and time again. He's been doing it for 4 years. What more can you say about that guy and the vision that he has, the toughness that he has with that, and then obviously to bring in Brandt as kind of that 1-2 punch. And kind of another cool thing is we got every one of our running backs a carry. Every running back on our roster got a carry last week. So I believe that was all 7 of them got a carry. So that was really cool. We saw we were able to see kind of some of our 2 younger backs, our freshmen, in terms of Gabe Lynch and Dial. They were able to get some carries. Dial had his first career touchdown. So able to kind of keep building the depth within that group. And then you kind of said it. I'm not taking anything away from Joey Stutzman, but I think when, that whole group as a whole, running backs, offensive line, Coach McGuire, Coach McGlenn, they've gone for 300 yards rushing in 3 straight games. That's pretty special, especially when you're in our league. That's not easy to do in our conference.
No, it really isn't. The WIAC, and Chad, we've talked about this, and you're sort of getting into the know here now. The WIAC is the top Division III conference by pretty much all metrics when it comes to especially football, but baseball, wrestling, track in the country. And you're right. When you play against or compete against teams in the WIAC, Coach, you got to bring your A game every single game. Now, let's transition while we've still got a couple of minutes with you here and talk about the upcoming matchup versus Oshkosh. You've talked about this. This is a big-time opponent. This is a team that historically you guys have had some battles with back and forth. If you're going to win the game on Saturday, what is going to be 1 or 2 of the biggest keys to that victory?
Well, I think, as we kind of covered in our scouting report meeting last night, we got a phenomenal opponent with some really great players. They have some great players on both sides of the ball. So I think, our offense, they have to be really patient. This is a defense. We're going to go against a defense that doesn't give up big plays. They don't. They make you earn the whole way down the field, and you just got to take it in small chunks all the way down the field. And then you got to score touchdowns in the red zone. They are going to tighten up. They're one of the best red zone defenses, I think, in the country. So they're going to tighten up really good inside the red zone. They played stout last week. They had some phenomenal red zone stops last week. So we have to be really patient on offense, and then we have to score when we get to the red zone. We're going to have to go on 12, 13, 14, 15 play drives in order to be successful there. And they're going to play loose with their coverage. They're going to try to make you think something's open, and they're going to try to get you to get impatient. They're going to try to get you to force stuff, and we cannot as an offense. And then as a defense, we have to make some explosive plays here. This is an offense, I believe. We're going against a phenomenal quarterback, and just a great athlete with a cannon of an arm. So we're going to have to find ways to keep him contained and try to confuse and frustrate him. And then we got to make some explosive plays on defense. We got to get some pass breakups. We got to get some TFLs. We got to get some sacks. Got to have explosive plays against these guys. So it's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be two really good teams. It's going to be a really physical game, just like our league is each week. But we're going to have our hands full here, and our guys got to play their best game.
Well, Coach, best of luck to you as always. You know that we're going to be pulling for you, and I can see that the community is. I even have a good friend of mine, St. Phil of Caledonia, Phil Costigan, checking in this morning, said you're continuing a great football tradition at UWL Bravo. And as always, Matt, appreciate your contributions. You make this show just turn. You could be like the straw that stirs this drink, man. I thank you as always.
Thanks, Coach.
Well, thank you, guys. See you later, Dave. See you later, Chad. Go Eagles.
Go Eagles. All right, buddy, let's take a quick pause. We'll be right back, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios.
Now more than ever, if you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps an investment property, you need a full-time dedicated real estate agent who is up to date on all the latest trends and analysis and is ready to give you the kind of service that you deserve. That's why the official real estate agent and the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival is Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your first home, or perhaps you are a seasoned investor, call the official real estate agent partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate.
Hello, this is Professor Fission for Nuke and Nuke Light, the world's first nuclear beer. Brewed and nuked in 1956 and recently found in Warehouse 14. How's it still fresh, you may ask? Well, thanks to our friends Cesium-137, Stromium-90, and Plutonium-239, these beers will stay fresh for another 90 years. Not only does Nuke and Nuke Light have 10 times the kick, but you're sure to be a hit at the party because it helps your urine glow in the dark.
Nuke and Nuke Light. Pick up a case today before it melts through your grocer's floor. And Duluth Care. Yummy.
Back to the action live from the Trauma Center studios. This is the one and only Sports Carnival. Now, as Mark Twain once said, get your facts first, then you can distort them as you please. Here's your hosts, Dave Carney.
So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to Samuel Clemens' grandson today and say, hey, did your grandpa or great grandpa, did he have like a fucking time machine or something? Like, how did he know? Also, great Mark Twain quote, and this goes for all you San Francisco 49er fans, of which I know that there's at least you
Tread lightly.
And ABCDEFG Foreman. P12 Foreman, as he's also known. Here's a great Samuel Clemens quote. The coldest winter night I ever spent was a summer day in San Francisco.
Oh.
So when you're thinking of California dreaming and all the beaches and the warm weather, that is not where the 49ers play. Well, they don't even play anywhere close to San Francisco anymore, but you get my point. That's a Mark Twain / Samuel Clemens. It has to do with, San Francisco.
The other thing about San Francisco is the wafting of the human feces that's on the sidewalk. Fecal matters in San Francisco. Just keep that in mind.
Yes. Wouldn't that be a great shirt that just said like
fecal matters?
Matters.
Because it does. Shit matters.
It does.
It matters. Everything matters.
matters quite a bit.
You don't have to be specific. We can be very obtuse with our quotes. And
absolutely. Hey, speaking of things that we'll be obtuse about, because great shirt ideas are awesome for being obtuse about. Yeah. Do you think that we should allow our audience to know that within a week or two, we'll start to roll out a new line of shirts, like the P1 Fan Club official shirts, the Fecal Matter shirts? And also, if you're a fan of sports, and sometimes they're local sports, we've got some stuff coming for you. The show just continues to grow day by day by day. And I don't want to have to tell people all the analytical reasons why, because it's going to take up too much time. But good God, thank you so much. This thing's growing day by day. And because of that, we're going to have some really cool new things that we're going to be rolling out very soon, including some great prizes. The recovery room, they're going to give us a 43-inch TV to give away, a brand new HD TV. And we're going to start rolling out the prize closet in a lot of different ways, Chad. We have got so much great sports memorabilia, Packers, Brewers, Bucks, Badgers, and stuff from all over the leagues that we're going to have an opportunity for audience members to win.
Well, the thing about sports memorabilia is that, you know what? I'm so pissed at myself because I thought that the bottom had fell out on that thing. So I hawked a lot of the stuff that I had. I had some really cool stuff. I'm sure there's other people out there that have a similar story. And in the 90s, it was big, man. I remember going to buy boxes of, 1980 or 1979. I can't remember what year it was. Topps cards to try to get the Joe Montana rookie card because it was worth $300. So you'd buy a whole box and you'd go through them and you'd be like, oh my God, you'd never end up with one. But I had some really cool cards and I got rid of it all because the bottom dropped out or nobody wanted it. Now it's back. It's not just back. It's back in such a huge way. And I know that this is sort of like one of those things that surprises guys our age because we, specifically we, who you and I were in the same camp, spent Saturdays going to basketball or sports card shops, right? And you travel around town because there'd be 4, 5, 6 of these places that you'd be able to see different stuff at, pick up different packs at, or even a different specific card. Yeah, this thing's back in such a big way. Yesterday, I was propositioned by a local business here, Badger Breaks in Onalaska, with this question: would you guys be interested in doing a show from Badger Breaks? And I said, tentatively, yes, we would. Sports cards are back and such, and not just sports cards, memorabilia, like you've mentioned, actual physical, non-fungible tokens. Okay. No, it's not non-fungible tokens, but things that are real are starting to come back into fashion quite a bit here. And they're limiting them. What they did with those top sets and the upper decks and the fleers. They went too heavy. And those things then become worthless. Now, they are very, very limited. I actually had, and this sounds crazy, I had a dream about pulling an autographed basketball card like 2 nights ago. Really? Like in one of these super packs. You're dreaming about that?
I did.
Well, so look at Foreman. Foreman says, I probably bought all your shit for cheap when you chucked it. And then Morning Wood says, go to Foreman for all your sports memorabilia and cards. So apparently Foreman is into it. I had a Barry Sanders rookie card. I had a Bo Jackson rookie card. I had a Jerry Rice second year. I mean, I had it all laid out in a book and everything was, I nerded out. And then
me too.
I found out everything was worth less than the paper it was on. And so I just started getting rid of it. And, I started consolidating and becoming a minimalist. And that was a bad move.
Well,
patience.
You know what? You live and you learn. And now we can't go back. Hey, people put, and my dad's mom, my Oma, did this to his Mickey Mantle,
Your Oma?
My Oma. That's
Okay.
right. German grandma. So my grandmother on my father's side, he put, I think, together a lot of his great baseball cards. We're talking, I don't know about Honus Wagner, but Mickey Mantles, those kinds of guys, Sandy Koufax on the spokes of his bicycle in Southern California when he was a kid, because doesn't that make it sound neat when you're riding your bike and fucking Mickey Mantle's $5,000 rookie cards just sitting there making all the noise? Yeah, of course. And yes, Foreman, you've got just about everything from sports memorabilia. As a matter of fact, this is what a good dude Foreman is. He's going to work with us on the Sports Carnival here to help our audience members possibly win some of these particular sports memorabilia items, because Foreman's under a mandate from his wife. They need to get back up to level so that they can start doing things as a couple again, because Foreman has spent their entire household fortune on sports memorabilia.
Well, but apparently that might have been a good move, Mrs. Foreman.
We'll see.
It sounds like
we'll see. It's working out okay.
He's got an autographed Barry Sanders football. Was that you in the stand? Do you have an Aaron Judge ball that possibly went over the fence? You have that, Foreman? Because if you have that, it's worth about $3 million.
Yeah, the guy that was walking out of that stadium is definitely not Foreman. I did see that because I saw that.
Last thing I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody out there, that guy did not sell that ball.
He didn't.
He's smart, and he's holding it because I think he initially got offered $2.5 million.
Yeah, from an auction house.
And the cool thing about that, which I didn't know they did this, but I imagine that it makes sense. They authenticate it right there. I think they gave him security guards in the whole 9 yards and walked him out with that ball because obviously they knew it was going to be worth millions of dollars. Could you imagine that, just being in the right place at the right time?
No. The only thing I've ever really won that was actual that I didn't have to plan out and really like work hard for. Second grade, Mrs. Amerson's class, I won an ET stuffed doll at the end of school one year. I'm serious. 1987, end of second grade, Mrs. Amerson's second grade class. I win an ET stuffed doll.
Was it at least a big one? Was it one of the giant ones?
No, it was about this big. I felt so excited about this. It reminded me of a time in which my kid was small. John was small, and he was throwing a fit leaving Walmart about how he just never won anything. And the claw arm, right? Nobody wins those things. Dude puts in a buck, comes out with a huge stuffed animal. I'm like, see, you're already ahead of your father. You have won more today than I will ever win in my entire life. So
I have lost so much money on that stupid claw thing just out of spite. I knew that it was a racket, right? But I was like, I'm gonna win this damn thing. And next thing you know, you got $20 in the machine. You look like an asshole.
See, that's why, Chad, you need to
shaking it and
you got to watch Dave's Daily Plays, which I put up on all our social media platforms later on this afternoon, because that's where you know that you get the real good free money. By the way, yesterday's Dave's Daily Play, for those that are just new or perhaps jumping back aboard the P1 Fan Club, once again cashed a ticket. Justin Fields under 24.5 total passing attempts. He had 21 in the Bears 33-14 victory. Coming up this afternoon, Chad, I might as well just preview because we don't have any Bucks basketball on tonight. The Bucks play again tomorrow against the Nets, which is going to be a really fun game to watch.
Especially if you're a Bucks fan.
Dude, they're going to roll these cats, man.
It's going to be, man, the Nets defense is non-existent.
I was going to say, what defense?
Embarrassing. It's embarrassing to have that quality of players on the floor and you get zero defense out of any of them.
Well, that's why this is not going to work. And listen, we can talk about this tomorrow. I think the Lakers and the Nets are both waiting for their seasons to explode so they can actually trade Russell Westbrook for Kyrie Irving. Like, I really do. I think they're both waiting for that thing to go down. But I will give you a little preview for today's Dave's Daily Play. I've got a great player prop bet for Steph Curry tonight. Golden State taking on the Phoenix Suns. This is a fantastic number for Steph Curry this evening. So I encourage you to follow us on social media at The Sports Carney, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, all over the place. And check out today's Dave's Daily Play. I'll have that up and online about 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Well, not that I'm going to ruin it or anything, but I do believe Steph Curry, first 3 games, has scored over 30 points. I think he had 33 last night.
33, yes. 33 night before. He had 36.
Excuse me.
Yeah. I believe that you're right. He has scored over 30. So if this gives you a little titillation here for today's Dave's Daily Play, then be sure again to follow us on social media, because that's the way to do it at The Sports Carney. We've also got a new Facebook group page. We just rolled this thing out yesterday. We're starting to invite more and more people into this group, and the group page is going to, Chad, give us an opportunity to run all sorts of different contests, find out things from our listeners that they might want. I saw Morning Wood said we needed a set of P1 sports cards. Jimmy Haggerty's stats include best eyes and hair in La Crosse County because it's Jimmy's birthday. And I told you, how old is an angel? I don't know if an angel ages. If you did about 37 years, but Morning Wood, Woody, you are on point. You know what Morning Wood got for me this weekend, Chad?
I don't know. A date?
A safe ride home, first of all. And do you remember those starter figurines? Remember the starter figurines? They were like basketball figurines, and they were sort of posed.
Yeah.
An unopened Dikembe Mutombo rookie, one of these. And you guys know Mutombo, no, was one of my favorite players. There's the camera. Yeah, Dikembe Mutombo. Thank you, Morning Wood. That was fantastic.
I do have a Joe Montana. It's like one of those Christmas tree ornaments that's like that. And he's So I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
I just like Joe Montana doing Guinness commercials now where the guy asks him, so you were a tennis player? And he's like, yeah, that's right, kid. That's right. All right. Thanks to Kyle Cable, One Trust Real Estate, the Recovery Room, Power in the Trauma Center Studios, Preferred Insurance, Tony Russo, Brian Sandmeyer, and of course, Mike Garcia. Happy birthday, Todd Vercruzzi from the Midwest Mortgage Team. You guys are awesome. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye, Chad.
Bye-bye.